Hi friends! I am so excited to be guest designing for Lollipop Box Club this month. This is the lovely May kit called My Small World, and I am going to be making a little mini book or mini album using one sheet of A4 card. I'm then going to decorate it and embellish it with the lovely kit. Now, to get started, I am going to measure my sheet of card. I know it's 21 centimeters wide, so I'm going to divide it into 3. So I've just made a little pencil mark there at 7 centimeters and at 14 centimeters, so 3 equal sections, and I'm marking it at the top and at the bottom just so that I can make sure that when I go and draw a line, it's exactly straight across the page and I'm not going to have slightly differing sized sections. I'm then going to repeat this exact same process, but working with the piece of card in a horizontal. So I'm going to measure it. Now, a sheet of A4 is slightly less than 30 centimeters, so I am just trying as best I can to perfectly divide that up by 3, so it's just under 10 centimeters for each section, and I'm just going to repeat the same process, putting markings at the top and at the bottom, and then I'm going to draw the 2 lines to make those 3 sections. So once I've drawn all the lines, I will have a grid pattern on my page. It'll be 3 by 3, and I am then going to use this as the basis for my mini book. The same method would work with a sheet of 12 by 12 cardstock. I've just opted for the A4 sheet, but please use whichever you prefer. Now I'm going to make 2 cuts. One is going to be up that first vertical line. I'm not going to cut all the way to the end, so there's 3 blocks there. I'm going to cut up to the end of the second block, so just 2 blocks up, and then I'm going to stop. Now I'm going to then turn my page around and I'm going to repeat the exact same process. So you'll see now just in a moment that's me finished my first cut, and I'm turning the page around, and then it's going to look like I'm going to cut up the first line and I'm going to stop at the end of the second block. I've kept the video of this process a bit slower than I usually do for my other videos, but I thought it might be helpful just to get a very clear visual on how this is done. Now, once I have made those 2 cuts, I'm going to then start my folding. So I'm going to start with one end. You pick whichever end you want to start with, and I'm going to fold it over to where the first line is and just score that line. And then I'm going to just go back and forth with my folding, almost like if you're doing a concertina fold. So I'm going to fold forward, then backwards, then forward, then backwards, all the way around that shape. I've used a really lightweight card, so it is really easy to fold. I don't need anything other than my fingers to kind of score those lines and to make the bends. If you're using a slightly thicker cardstock, it might be handy if you've got a score tool or something just to help you make nice neat folds. So I'm using all the little lines as guides, and I'm just trying to keep all the lines as straight as possible and make sure that the corners meet up, just so that it's a nice neat little book once everything's all folded together. Now all the folds are done, and I'm just having a quick flick through. You can see it looks a little bit strange, but don't worry, we're going to make lots of little pockets, and that's what I'm going to do now. Now I'm opening it up, and the 2 blocks on the left there are going to form my first pocket. So where the fold is, that's going to be one side of the pocket, so I'm just going to glue on the other side and at the base, and I'm going to join those together, and that makes my first little pocket. Now the next 2 blocks, the base fold forms a join, so I'm just going to be gluing up both of the sides, and then I'm going to stick those together, and then that adds a second little pocket right next door to the first pocket that I created a moment ago. So there are those 2 little pockets. Now at this point I do skip out a pocket. I will discover it later that I've not done it, but I'm just moving on to the next one. This is going to be a little sideways pocket, so we can poke something into the side of it, and I'm just gluing down the side and the bottom of that one. So there is that little side pocket, and then we've got one last one which is at the back, so we've got to put some tape down the one side and across the bottom just to complete that last pocket. So there I've got all my little pockets, and I'm ready to start sticking on some pretty papers and getting decorating. Now I'm just having a little look through this lovely kit from Lollipop Box Club. We've got a gorgeous little stencil in there this month. I'm not going to be using that for this project, but I will be using it in my next project, which is going to be a scrapbook page. We've got a lovely little treat bag, and inside that is a lovely little cut apart, which I'm going to be using, and some tiny graph paper, and then this is my favorite, this gorgeous rainbow check and heart fabric, which I'm definitely going to be using for this little mini book. So I'm going to just get stuck into that now. I'm not going through the rest of my kit just now. I've been totally distracted by this beautiful fabric. So I'm going to be cutting 2 strips. They're going to be 2 blocks wide, and those are going to form the ties of my book. So I'm going to get those organized straight away. I'm going to use some pretty pattern paper stuck on the front and the back to hold those ties in place. So these are the beautiful kit papers that we've got this month, and I've opted for this lovely tealy turquoise stripe. I was just deciding which way to have that scallop, if I should have it at the top or the bottom, but I've opted for it to be at the top. So I'm just going to be cutting that. I love it when there's striped paper. It makes cutting straight lines so nice and easy, and I do kind of switch between my scissors and my little mini guillotine for trimming for these pages, and there is my option for the front cover. So I'm just going to stick that down, and then I'm going to move to the inside of the front cover, and that's where I'm going to stick down the first tie. I'm going to move on to the inside of my front cover now, and I've opted for a pretty yellow sheet of paper with some white clouds. I think this ties in so nicely with the rest of the pattern papers. This was an extra one that was added to the kit this month. So this time I'm using my guillotine, and I used a very technical method, my fingernail, to score the line to get the size correct. Now I've just used my tape runner to stick that piece of fabric down. I'm not too worried about it sticking properly because I am going to go over it with my sewing machine and do some stitching. So for now this is going to hold everything in place perfectly until I get a moment just to stitch all the way around those edges. Now I've repeated the exact same thing for the back of the book, even using the same pattern papers, and it's at this point I discover that I'd not made up one of the little pockets. So I just need to put some tape down the outside edge and along the bottom, and then that makes 3 pockets right next to each other. So on that first page there's now 3 little pockets, which I'm going to use to add extra photos in. Now I'm going to go through each page, adding in some pretty patterned paper, trimming it down and sticking it in, and I'll be back in a short while to stick all my photos in and to get embellishing.
It never rains in California. The sun is always shining bright. People are smiling, making plans, hiding behind their shades, and you're doing the same. No rain, no flowers, nothing's growing where you're at. Heart is fire, but baby, I bet you're cold without me, even when it's 90 degrees. Without me, I bet that you can get any sleep in that bed, lying awake, 'cause I'm not there beside you, keeping you warm at night. No, I bet you're cold. You're so damn cold. It never rains in California. The sun is always shining bright. But if the sky would open up, you're staying home, you don't get out. You always used to love the rain, but LA changed you. No rain, no flowers, nothing's growing where you're at. Heart is fire, but baby, I bet you're cold without me, even when it's 90 degrees. Without me, I bet that you can get any sleep in that bed, lying awake, 'cause I'm not there beside you.
Now that all the pretty papers are stuck down, I have stitched around the edges. Now that stitching is just going to help keep those little fabric ties in place. Now, if you're going to be adding stitching, please make sure you don't stitch any of your pockets closed. I actually amazed myself that I didn't do that, because that is just the kind of thing I would do. So if you've got an opening for a pocket at the top, just make sure you don't stitch across the top and close those pockets in. So now I've got lots of photos. Now, as soon as I heard the name of this kit, My Small World, I just straight away thought about the time when my twin babies were born, nearly 8 years ago, and I wanted to make a little mini album of the day that they were born. So I've taken a few of the different photos, and the ones that I'm starting off with on the first double page there is me and my husband just before we left our house to go and have my twins, and the photos on the right, there's a picture of me with my 2 fur babies, and then a picture of me and my babies in my belly, my 2 peas in a pod, as it says, in the car on the way to the hospital. So yeah, those are very sweet photos, precious photos to me, and I just wanted to make sure that they were part of the story in this little album. Now, I am making use of everything in this kit, so the little ephemera pieces came in this little, almost like a tissue paper bag. It's slightly thicker than tissue paper, but not as thick as regular paper, and I'm using that just to back some of my photos to give them a white border. So I am just trimming that down, and I feel that just finishes off the photo a little bit. Another lovely item from the kit was a little cellophane bag of little square bits of pretty paper, and they all have scalloped edges. So you'll see there's one piece there, it's that lovely turquoisey aqua color, and I'm using that just behind my mounted photos, just to kind of give a bit of a solid color background. I've got that beautiful pattern paper in the background, but just to add a little bit of color blocking there, I've used that, and I love the little scalloped trim. Now, this is a photo of me and my husband and my 2 babies straight after they were born. They were born via cesarean section, and our pediatrician was our photographer. He was fantastic, and he took such awesome photos of their birth. They're not included in here, don't worry, and the moments straight after. So that's why we've got that lovely photo. Yes, I was really grateful that he had offered to take those photos for us. So I'm just sticking a little bit of that grid paper to the right of that photo, because I am going to write some journaling at a later point to add in there. And now my photo does peek off the top and the bottom, but I'm just going to trim that down. I do like the slightly angled look on this page, just for a little bit of extra interest, and then there's still some space there to write a few words. Now, this is one of the first photos of my 2 together. I have a little boy and a little girl, perfect pigeon pair, and we were just so excited when they were born. We didn't find out ahead of time if we were having boys or girls, so we were very prepared with 2 boys' names and 2 girls' names just in case. And yeah, we were just so delighted. It was such a special day. And they're wrapped in their little shawls that my mum and I made for them, so I've still got those. So many precious things. So now I've got this photo that my brother took of my hubby and myself and our babies, our fat little family of 4, and that's going to go there with another photo of my 2 side by side. This time they've got a lovely little pink and blue hat that my mum had made, as we hadn't found out if they were boys and girls. It was super exciting to add on those little pink and blue hats as a kind of visual announcement of what we had. And yeah, my mum was super prepared. She had 2 pink, 2 blue ready for us. So once again, I'm just backing one of my photos with that white kind of tissue paper, and I've decided to swap the photos around, have my little babies on the left hand side. I'm just going to trim it down a little bit so you can see some of that pattern paper in the background, and there, I'm happy with that now. And once again, I'm going to back that with the white tissue paper. Now I'm going to keep working through my album, just adding in my photos and making my little photo tags to go into all my pockets. I'm going to leave you with some music to watch, but please do drop me some questions if you have any questions about anything that I've done, if I've not explained anything. I will pop back in later to chat a little bit more, but for now, enjoy.
Wish that I could stay in this moment forever, so I can hold you in my arms. I will carry you on my shoulders as long as I'm able. Scare the monsters under your bed. Deep and abiding, liking for you is all I need. Until my heart gives in, I will do everything I can for you. You will grow up in the blink of an eye and move out and beyond your own. But no matter what comes your way, I will stay right here beside you to catch you if you fall. And deep and abiding, liking for you is all I need. Until my heart gives in, I will do everything I can.
Now these photos are going to go into one of the pockets, and I've taken one of those little scalloped squares and I'm using it to make a little tag. I just love the little scallops at the bottom of that. It is a really nice decorative feature. However, you will see later on, I stick pretty paper over those scallops because every time I try to tuck those pictures into one of the pockets, they kind of hook on the edge. So it's quite tricky to get all the scallops to kind of line in perfect place so that they don't catch on the edge of the pockets. So as pretty as they look, I do end up taking them out, as well as all the staples. I love the detail of the staples. However, they just keep hooking on both sides. You can see here I'm really struggling with it, but I do all the photos with little stapled scalloped tags, and then it's only right at the end I decide I'm going to need to change it. So stay tuned for that.
Deep and abiding, liking for you is all I need. Until my heart gives in, I will do everything I can for you. Last forever. Take me back to when we were kids and didn't care if we were acting stupid, cause all we had was us. If I close my eyes and think about us, I can see the person I know I should be. 'Cause honestly, I don't have no time to waste. I'm trying to come back to you, because now I see we were meant to be. Where are you now? Heard you live far away, but just tell me where and I'll come see ya. 'Cause I'm afraid that I'll end up here alone. Hope you'll understand how much I need ya. Take me back to when we were kids and didn't care if we were acting stupid, 'cause all we had was us. If I close my eyes and think about us, I can see the person I know I should be. 'Cause honestly, I don't have no time to waste. I'm trying to come back to you, because now I see we were meant.
And that is all my photos stuck in and the little tags made. So I've got a little quick flip through. I will have another one later on when I'm done, but now it's time to decorate. So I'm using one of the pretty pattern papers from the kit. I love this one. Each month Lisa includes a piece of pattern paper that's like a strip that you can cut apart. You can use it obviously in its entirety, or you can cut little bits from it, and this is this month's one, and I just love it. So I'm going to use those, that yellow strip with the hearts, and then one of the stickers that says My World from the lovely sticker sheet from the kit, and that's going to be the title of my little mini book. So I've stuck that sticker onto a piece of white card and then just cut around its shape. For me, it's a little bit easier because then I can kind of fiddle around with the layout a little bit without being too worried about it sticking to the page. So that's what I've done for that, and I've opted to use one of these the little ephemera pieces, those cute little houses and buildings and the little sunshine, and I think that makes a cute little scene for the front cover. I really just love that sunshine. It just kind of finished it off so nicely, and those little yellow hearts, I'm just centering them there, and I'm going to tuck those houses behind the hearts. I preferred how that looked, so they're going to peek out from behind, and I'm going to raise up the My World. So the sun's going there, and then there's little clouds on the sticker sheet, so I'm going to tuck those behind the sun. They really are just the cutest little stickers. I was so glad when I discovered those. So I'm going to have two near the sun, slightly offset from each other, and then the third one I'm going to stick in the top left of the cover, and I think it looks really cute there. Now, I don't add too much dimension to this book because it is quite little, so if it was super chunky on the inside, it would be difficult to close, but I am going to add a tiny bit of dimension on the front cover, so I'm going to raise up the title that says My World, and I think that's perfect. Now, there's a lovely little sticker piece in the kit that says Good Things Ahead, and that is perfect for the photo of me and my hubby before we left to go to the hospital, because there certainly were two very, very good things ahead for us that day. And I'm going to cut out one of these little arrows, and that's going to be pointing to the next page for those good things that are coming ahead. So I'm just fussy cutting around that. I'm leaving a very thin peach border just for a little bit of interest with that lovely colour, and sticking that in place. I do eventually move down the text. I should have stuck the arrow in first, because I'm going to move those text pieces to be a little bit closer to the arrow. The kit also has a lovely little set of teeny tiny alphas, and I'm going to use this throughout the mini book just to add little words and sentiments to the pages. So for this one, right on my big twin bump, I'm going to say it's baby time, because it is. We were just a few short hours away from meeting our babies, so yes, I'm sticking those word pieces down, and then there is a sticker on the sticker sheet that says my time. So I'm going to cut off the my and just use the word time to stick under the little alphas that said it's baby. So it's baby time. And then I was really excited to find a teeny tiny little yellow clock. It was like it was meant to be. So that's just tucked in behind that photo, and I think they work so nicely together. I'm going to go back to that cut apart pattern paper. The little phrase "Hey world" is just perfect to go on the picture of my twins. I really think that this kit, it was made for me for this idea. So many of the bits and pieces are just perfect for this little book. So I've got Hey World, and then I'm going to use the little alphas to sound out the words we're new. So Hey World, we're new. And I do go in after with a pen just to add apostrophes to the different places so that it makes sense. And I think that is perfect. I'm really, really happy with how that is looking so far. It's coming together. Now I've also gone for this little word strip that says all smiles. I think that was the perfect sentiment to put alongside the photo of our brand new family of 4 just after delivery. So that's going there, and later on I will add some journaling off camera. Now that little word strip was perfect for that photo, my little world. So I've just cut it so that it fits better, and then I'm using some of those pretty little flower stickers just to add in as well. Now on this cut apart card, there's a little sentiment piece that says find the joy. I'm just going to be using the little circles with the letters for joy inside, so I'm fussy cutting around those, and I'm going to stick those on the little photo there of my pigeon pair, and then I'm going to use the little alpha stickers to add in the words so much joy. So I'm going to now move on to decorating the little tags, and the first tag I'm going to decorate is a photo of the little bassinet that my babies were sharing in my hospital room, and I've just put one of their little blankets over it and the clothes that they were going to wear when they were born, and it says ready for you. And then on the reverse there's just a photo of my bed and a second bed which was for my hubby. We were really, really lucky, and he was able to stay with me for the 3 nights that I was in hospital, and yeah, it was really lovely to have him there with me. So I've also stuck some alpha stickers onto that first page that say awesome chicken day, because from when we found out that I was pregnant, we referred to our babies as our little chickens, and we still call them our little chickens, and it was indeed an awesome day, so it seemed perfect just to have that little phrase in there. Now this other tag of me holding the 2 of them, I've used the cut off bit that says my from the previous text piece where I'd cut off the my when it said my time, and I've put a little sunshine with it, so my sunshine. Now I love this little tulip flower, and I just wanted to add that in next to that photo, so I pulled up some of the alpha stickers and tucked it in behind, and I was really happy with how that looked. That final photo that's in the last pocket at the end of the book is of my husband pushing the pram out of the hospital. So I'm going to use the 2 little text pieces on that sticker sheet that say goodbye and hello, and the little house sticker, and it's going to say goodbye hospital, hello home, because we were on our way home together. So really such a special moment. And that is the last bit of decorating that I've done, so I'm going to tuck that in. I just wanted to shift the positioning of these words and the little house a little bit. I'm going to move it more centered to that little card. Luckily they pull up easily enough. And yes, I'm happier with that positioning, and then I'm going to tuck it in. And then I'm going to go through the process of pulling all the staples out and kind of removing those scallops so that it's easier to tuck everything in. So I'm back to this stripped pattern paper, and I'm just cutting some little strips, and I'm going to be gluing them over the scallops. I'm not going to remove the tags in entirety or cut anything off, so I'm just going to stick them over. Initially I just stuck them on top of the staples, and then I realized that the staples made it really bulky, so then I had to pull it apart and pull the staples out as well, but I eventually got there in the end. I started to lift the alpha letters up so that I could tuck that piece behind, but I ended up opting, once I'd removed the staples, I opted to just have those alpha stickers sitting on top of that strip, and it ended up looking a bit nicer like that. There you can see over there I've added the text pieces to that strip, and those go in much easier. So I worked through all the tags, taking off the staples and just making them a little bit easier to go in. The only tag I don't really fiddle with is that one that's a picture of my husband holding one of our babies, and with a little tab on it that says love. Because that goes in a side pocket, it didn't seem to hook on anything, so that worked fine as it was, so I didn't fiddle with that and change any of it. So here I'm just sticking the My Sunshine back on so that it can slot in, and I'm happier with that setup. And I had tried to just ignore the fact that it was awkward to get the bits and pieces in and out, but I couldn't, so that led me to just fix it all. At the end of the day, I want to be able to look at this book without breaking it every time, so I'm glad I fixed it. Now I'm just adding some Nouveau Glimmer Paste, my favourite colour Moonstone, just to add a little bit of shimmer to those clouds, and then I do add it to a couple spots inside the book as well. I ended up opting for a little paintbrush. I usually always use my finger, but because these are small little spaces and I didn't want to get the glitter everywhere, I decided to use my paintbrush. So I'm going to add a little bit to that arrow, and then also to that little flower, just for a little bit of extra shimmer. And now, last but not least, at this point I had thought that I was done, but it just felt like there was something missing. So I decided to make some pretty paper beads. Now I've seen different crafters make these, but I've never tried them before. And actually recently it was my daughter, she made them. I'm not sure where she'd seen it. It certainly wasn't from me, but it gave me the idea to include some of these. So I've zoomed in a little bit so that you can see. I've taken a strip of twine, and I've taken a piece of pattern paper, and I've kind of cut it into a long triangle, except there isn't a point at the top of it. It's just cut off at the top. So then I start my piece of twine at the wider end, and I use glue to stick it in place, and then slowly just roll it until the whole strip is wound around that piece of twine, and it gives a really kind of cute little bead. Now I am using a piece of pattern paper that has got a pattern that goes horizontally, but when it's made into something so small it doesn't really matter. It'll just add a little bit of extra interest. Now I'm adding a bit of glue just to keep the end tied down, and then I do add a knot to each end of each bead just to kind of keep it in place. I make 3 of these in total, and I use a different colour of twine for each bead, so I really just think it adds lovely little bit of extra interest to the outside of the little mini book. So there they are there, all with colours of twine that coordinate nicely with this lovely kit, and I'm going to tie them all together and then tie them around the centre of the little book. I am careful to make sure that they're dangling at different lengths, so I am quite purposeful in where I place them so that they're not all hanging at the same point. And then, like I said, I'm just going to wrap it around the centre of my book and then just tie a knot. I do cut the excess ends off. I leave a little bit for extra bit of dangling and interest, but I do a double knot and then just trim some of the excess off. This is definitely one of my longest YouTube videos to date. If you've stuck through to the very end, well done, and thank you so much for watching. If you love this kit, please do pop along to Lisa's shop at Lollipop Box Club, where you can get a kit for yourself. A lovely crafty kit comes out each month. There's always a lovely theme and so many different things that are really versatile for scrapbooking, making mini books, journals, really any kind of memory keeping, and just Lisa always has lovely ideas over on her YouTube channel, lots and lots of inspiration, as do her design team. She's got a lovely community over on Facebook, as well as a community over on Patreon, so I'll link everything up for you below if you're interested in having a look. But here's a more closer look at this little mini album. Thank you so much for watching today. I really hope that you've enjoyed this. This is something very different from my usual. I've not made many books before, certainly none on camera, thank you so much for joining me in this experience today. This is the first of this kind that I've done, and I'd love to know if you'd like to see more of these kinds of tutorials and videos. I would love to take some suggestions, so if there's anything that you're interested in seeing or would like me to make, please do let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to take on your suggestions. Now that I'm back creating videos, I'm definitely posting a little bit more frequently. I don't have a set schedule yet, so it is a little bit ad hoc. So if you'd like to be notified when I have a new video up, hit the bell and you'll get a notification. You can also find me over on Instagram at Handmade Happy by Monique. Once again, thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!
Back to when we were kids and didn't care if we were acting stupid, 'cause all we had was us. If I close my eyes and think